Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our patient is Latitude 5410. It's a very nice machine. It runs Windows 11. It has 2 memory slots, relatively big battery. A very nice computer. A few weeks or maybe a few months ago, we did a BIOS job on this one. Right, because it was BIOS locked. It's very common for these to be sold with a BIOS lock because they were used by corporations. But it also came without a battery. So what I did, I ordered a knockoff battery, unbranded. Right, this isn't a Dell battery. Right, it came without the cable, so I also had to order a cable separately. I connected it, and the computer doesn't see the battery. It doesn't charge. It's not detected in the BIOS. BIOS says that battery is not installed. What could be the issue? So number one, we have to check whether the computer is at fault or the battery is at fault. Battery could be faulty or the computer could be faulty. So first thing, we want to check these 2 transistors, and this is the coil that produces energy to supply the battery, right? So this is our charging coil. These 2 MOSFETs are controlled by ISL chip. So this is not a BQ chip architecture, this is ISL architecture, ISL chip architecture, right? We also want to see the input voltage, so 19.5 volts on this resistor, because that's what supplies our high transistor. We also want to see that regardless whether the battery is there or not, we should have some voltage over here, roughly around 5 volts. And we want to see that ISL is actually controlling those 2 transistors. The best way to do that is to use the oscilloscope and just check. The gates are here, gate number 1 and gate number 2. We can also check on the coil whether we have a actual square signal, although on the coil it's not going to be square, right? In some cases, which something that we cannot confirm right now, we will confirm that eventually, but in some cases it's the actual coil that is faulty, and that is being detected by the ISL chip, and there's no charging. There's like initial charging, there's like slight voltage, but it doesn't actually charge. It's very rare, but I've had it before. I've had this case before on memory rail. So it's always good to remember. And I've also seen it in other repair videos where the coil was actually at fault. It's very difficult to confirm without the replacement because it's very difficult to confirm whether the coil is faulty or not. You can't really use the resistance. You have to test it in the circuit. So let's connect the power cable without the battery, and let's measure on the coil. We have 6 volts, something like that. And on the oscilloscope, we see that the coil is being driven, right? So that tells us that ISL chip is working fine. The coil is being driven. We should have all the voltages, in that case, obviously main power rail over here, and we have not on this resistor, this capacitor here. Yeah, we have 19.7 volts on the main power rail that supplies the transistors. So the computer is capable of charging. So the next thing, we spent some time with LED Farmer yesterday. We do sometimes those Sunday repair sessions. Feel free to join us on Discord. We check the cable because that's the easiest thing, right? If the cable is faulty. Now that would be rather unusual, but worth checking. Then we disassembled the battery. Well, maybe not necessarily disassembled, because as you can see, I ripped it open. As you can see, the battery is controlled by the BQ chip 40370, and we can check if the BQ chip is powered, and it's got 14.6 volts, right? So the battery is pretty much charged. It's maybe not fully charged, but enough that the BQ chip is powered. Thermal image doesn't reveal anything. Nothing's getting hot. So we conclude that the BQ chip is probably working, although we can't really confirm that this easily. So next thing that we're gonna do is put the battery in. We're gonna connect the battery like so. Should be good. Now on the battery, voltage should be around 0 because the battery will not turn on until the ISL chip communicates with it and wakes it up. We have 1.5 volt, 1.3. So it looks like the battery started, delivered some charge, right? The capacitor is charged, and now the voltage is dropping. We tested the cable, so we know that the connection is there, and we tested the BQ chip on the battery, so we suspect that the battery is capable of working. So now, what we want to see is whether to actually confirm the ISL chip is actually working. We want to see that the data transmission is being initiated on that rail. So as you can see, first 3 pins are shorted together and the last 4 pins are shorted together. There's positive and negative. That's our ground, that's our voltage, which means 4, 5, and 6 are going to be data pins. And on this one, the 4th pin is the clock, 5th pin is the data. Now this is SM bus, which is pretty much an I2C communication protocol. So we're gonna always have a clock signal, and we also should have a data signal. So I'm gonna connect it here and hold it steady as well as I can after 2 coffees. And let's see the scope. So what I'm doing is I'm just plugging in the computer, and I want to see data, or I want to see square signal. Did you see that blip when I plug it in? There's definitely 2 big chunks of clock data going in. 1 and 2. 2 big blips. Right? So now I'm going to switch to the data pin, and I want to see some blips of data going in. There you go. Both when I turn it on and when I disconnect the power, there is some data going in. Which means, oh, and now we even tried a few times. Now this looks to me like the ISL chip is actually retrying. This alone confirms that the ISL chip is trying to communicate with the battery. But the battery is not responding and the system doesn't see it. So let's take a look at the battery again. Now what do we see here? Actually the question is, what do we not see over here? Number 1 that we don't see is a fuse. This is the entire electronics on this board. Nothing else is on the other side, and the rest is just the pins over here that connect directly to the cells. So this is the entire electronics of our battery. BQ chip and few caps and resistors. That's it. Now what we think is going on over here is that the computer is perfectly fine. It can charge the battery. It probably works perfectly fine. The battery has been removed for safety reasons when the computer was sent to be destroyed, basically. For storing and shipping, it's best to remove the batteries, especially if the computer goes on the airplanes, right? If it's shipped via airplanes, it's typically you have to pay more if your device has the lithium battery, and some carriers will refuse the shipment if there is a lithium battery in the package. In some cases, they only ship if the battery is new. If the device is new, never used, they will ship it. But if the device is old, they won't ship it. So most likely there's nothing wrong with the computer, but the battery is basically fake. By fake, I mean it probably would work in other devices. The cells, as we can see, cells are charged and the battery is probably capable of discharging. And what's happening here, as we think, is that the computer is trying to initiate the battery. it talks to the battery, and the battery responds with something that was unexpected. So either this is more of a generic battery and Dell expects more proprietary protocol. It could be reporting as a different voltage or different number of cells or something that is not supported by the computer, by the ISL chip, or on the off chance this BQ chip could be just plainly faulty. Now it's rather unusual for these to go faulty, but there is some programming in those. They are not always configured by the resistors, although I'm actually not sure about this one. But some of them have to be programmed. That's how you reset the battery or diagnose the battery and stuff. You talk directly to the BQ chip on board and it has some data stored on it. For example, number of cycles, the overall health of the battery, that kind of stuff. This is the data that we actually retrieve from the battery. The computer doesn't actually run tests or anything like that to determine the health of the battery. It's just whatever the battery reports, that's what we take. So these are the two possibilities at the moment. Now we have a original, I think used original battery on the way. No, I think it's new, but it's original. We're gonna connect it and we're gonna confirm. But what I expect that's gonna happen is that the new battery is just gonna charge perfectly fine. And this one is just not compatible. Now in this case, what we would like to do is just connect to the pinout over here to our data and clock line, connect the ground, and read what's on that chip. Read the manufacturer, read the number of cycles, and all that kind of stuff. For that, you need a software and a hardware, because as I said, this is basically an I2C rail that you use to connect to these relatively low frequencies, and that allows you to do two things. Number one, read stuff off the battery to see how it reports. Number two, you can reset it and you can reprogram it. So you can take a dead battery, replace the cells, and tell the BQ chip that the number of cycles is 0 and the battery health is 100%. That's how you would revive the battery. However, those applications are relatively expensive. Not only you have to pay up front, but then you have to pay a monthly or yearly fee to use that application and to use the hardware. Well, the hardware probably you can just use regardless, but to use the application, as the hardware is proprietary, you kind of need the application. It's not like you can replace the application easily. Which brings me to my point. I've been toying with this idea for a while now to build the hardware and write the software to diagnose and reset the batteries and release it at much better price, especially with no monthly fees, because I kind of understand it, as a software engineer myself. I would love to just everybody who purchased my Rework Pro or downloaded my own Screen Multimeter or download the project that I'm working on right now to pay me every month some amount. And yes, that's a beautiful business model. I would love that, but that doesn't really sit right with me. Now this might be a little harsh, but in my view that's borderline extortion. You bought something and then the company that sold you that demands fees every month. Now in some cases I can understand that you need to maintain the infrastructure to support the application, and that makes sense that you pay monthly for the service, because you're not only paying for the application but also for the service. So I can agree with that. If the price is well adjusted to the costs, it's fine. But for the application like this, to just reset the batteries, there's really no need. The same for the BWE debug tool for PlayStations, right? I don't know if he gets monthly fees or not, but you can lose the access to the software you purchased. That's not how I want to develop software. But my question to you guys is, would you be interested in purchasing such a software? Now that would come either as a software alone and you have to build your own hardware and you just download the firmware to upload to, say, some simple Arduino or something like that, perhaps Raspberry Pi, maybe not, because it would really be an overkill. And you have a single payment to purchase the software, probably around $30, maybe $50. One-time purchase, and you have the application for life. Just like with Rework Pro. Now, if you'd be interested in something like that, leave it in the comment. That'll give me some motivation to start working on it, because I've done a lot of research regarding how to actually do it. So I know I can. I know it's just going to take a lot of time and effort to actually build that. And I don't want to sink all that time into that project just to find out that no one is actually interested in purchasing it. If you also have some stories regarding software slash hardware that you purchased for the battery diagnostics and you had good or bad experience, leave it in the comment, share it with the community, and perhaps some of you guys are interested in collaborating on that project. I would be interested in that as well. But for now, since we don't have the software yet, I conclude that this is a fake battery. Now, it wasn't expensive, it was actually very cheap. That's why I bought it, because I wasn't aware that I can purchase a lemon that just basically plainly doesn't work. So let's wait for the replacement battery, replace it, and confirm. So stay tuned for part 3 of this laptop already. So this is part 2 on this one, and there's going to be part 3. Alrighty, thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you, and I shall see you guys in the next one.